Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. It's your brother JD Nijah. I'm back with another message of edification and exhortation for the children of Israel. The Yasharallah, the princes of the power, the 144,000 elect men, the Akim, that are pushing these truths out in these perilous, dangerous times. Before I get started, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakakadash. That's our Heavenly Father, the only begotten Son, and the Holy Spirit in the Rakakadash, the Paleo-Hebrew. And I'm back with a message to finish up the difference between carnal and spiritual. For someone who's spiritual, it would seem like a simple thing, but then I took my walk and I was meditating on it, and it's not as simple as you would think. Part of it has to do with the concept of His Spirit witnessing with your spirit, and that's part of the mystery. Is we come back over and over again, and the Spirit is the same, but it comes in a different body, different flesh. And so a lot of what you see in the flesh has something to do with what has happened in the Spirit. So when you see these people that have been judged and they come back and their flesh isn't right, the Lord, Yahweh power did something to them for something they did in the past, so they're born blind or deaf, or their arm, their hand, their leg, something, you know what I'm saying, something is deformed or not right. That's the flesh witnessing onto itself that it has done something spiritually that needs to be accounted for. So another thing I wanted to go into real quick was when I was talking about John the Baptist and John the Revelator. It's the same dude. And before he came back as John the Baptist, he was, in the regeneration, he was Isaiah the prophet. So it's really weird that just totally skipped out of my mind. Good example of how hard it is to stay in the Spirit and to recall and remember everything that the Lord wants us to know and remember. It comes in fits and spurts, like I was saying. But I looked up scriptures on the Spirit and the difference between the carnal and the difference between the carnal and the spiritual, right? And I was looking for examples, and the best example that came to my mind was when I'll read it real quick. You see, Saul was a Benjamite. He was made the first king of Israel, and he got in the flesh, and by getting into the flesh, he lost his kingship, because Yahweh power told him to do one thing and he didn't do it. And the reason he didn't do it is because he was in the flesh. And I'm going to read, it's in Samuel. So what he was supposed to do, you know these people that are over in our land right now? They're the Amalekites. And so this story actually goes all the way back. The story that goes all the way back to Saul, the first king of Israel, is still an issue today because Saul didn't do what he was told, and he was in his flesh. So what he did, I'll just read it. What he did is he, instead of destroying everything like the Lord told him to, let's see. All right, it kind of says it over and over again because it's different parts of the same story. So it says, thus said the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did of Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. So Amalek was always our enemy, and Amalek was viciously deceptive and still is to this day. That's why they're calling themselves us. But anyway, now go and smite Amalek. This is the Lord telling Saul, utterly destroy all they have and spare them not. Utterly destroy all they have and spare them not. But slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox, sheep, camel, and ass. So he's saying, he told him right there, this is what I want you to do. Destroy it all. Not some of it, all of it. So he gathered his men and he told the Kenites, get out of there because he's going to destroy the Amalekites. The Kenites dwelt near the Amalekites. And Saul smote the Amalekites, verse 7 of 1 Samuel 15. And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until you comest to Shur, and that is over against Egypt. So he was down there on the edge of Egypt right there, probably by Edom. And he took the Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. And Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep and the oxen and the fatlings and the lambs and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them, but everything that was vile and refuge they destroyed. So they could tell the difference between what was good and what was bad, but they didn't listen. Saul didn't make them do what they were supposed to do. They were like, wow, the Lord gave us the Amalekites into our hands. That's awesome. Now we can take all their shit. But that's not what the Lord wanted. He wanted him to destroy everything. Then came the word of the Lord unto Samuel, saying, it repenteth me that I have sent up Saul to be king, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night. And when Samuel rose early, verse 12 of 1 Samuel 15, to meet Saul in the morning, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set himself up a place and has gone about and passed on and gone to Gilgal. So he split. He just did what he was going to do. Then Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said to him, blessed be thou, the Lord, I have performed the commandments. And Samuel said, what meaneth then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? So he could hear the animals that Saul didn't destroy. Where am I? 9 minutes. All right, so the point of the message is I'll find that verse real quick. Saul was asked why he didn't do what the Lord said, And I'll find the verse real quick. So he's saying, and Saul said, they have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and the oxen to make a sacrifice to Yahweh power. Then Samuel said, just stay and I'll tell you what the Lord has to say about that, brother. When thou was little in your own sight, wast thou made the head of the tribes of Israel, and the Lord anointed thee king over Israel. He's like, when you didn't think you were all that, the Lord had mercy on you and made you king, but now you think you can just do whatever you want? Go and utterly destroy the sinners. So he said, go destroy the sinners, fight against them until they're consumed. Wherefore then didst thou not, why did you not obey the voice of the Lord Yahweh power, but didst fly upon the spoil and did evil in the sight of the Lord? He's asking him, so why'd you do this? And Saul said unto Samuel, yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Yahweh power and gone the way which the Lord Yahweh power sent me, and have brought Agag the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took of the spoil, sheep and oxen, and chief of things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God at Gilgal. So what he said was, it wasn't me, it was the people. It was my folks, our people did that. I didn't do that. And so he was trying to pass the buck. So he was coming into the flesh, because he's not admitting right there that, you know what, you're right, I'm going to go destroy all those animals now. Fuck what the people want. I want to do what my Lord wants. And so the point of this story right here is not only the difference between the spirit and the carnal. I'm gonna get the other part before I go into it real quick, but it's easy for me to remember because it's what this message is about. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and the stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. So he is being stubborn. That's right. It was 21 that I just read, and that was verse 23 of 1 Samuel 15. So rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. I'll just finish these verses and then I'll get into what this means. And Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandments of Yahweh power and the words, because I feared the people. Because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now therefore I pray thee, pardon my sin and turn again with me, that I may worship the Lord Yahweh power. So the reason Saul was afraid of the people, he was the king and he was afraid of his own people. So when you see these politicians, like a good example of it right now is Gavin Newsom. He's afraid to tell everyone turn off your water right now because he doesn't want to get recalled. We're sucking gas as far as the water goes, but he's not saying anything, because if he says that right now before this recall, they're going to go, fuck, Newsom is a jackass. He's saying shut off our water, and we're going to have to go on restrictions and all that. So he's afraid of losing his power. That's his flesh talking. He wants to keep his power. So just like Saul, he's afraid of the people, and he's going to let bad things happen because he's afraid that the people aren't going to love him and worship him and listen to him. He doesn't need the people to love him and worship him and listen to him. He's the king. He's the last say. And if the prophets tell the king this is what the Lord wants, that's what the king does. Everything's cool. The king starts thinking, you know what, I don't need to listen to this prophet. I'm the king. I want to make sure my people love me and blah, blah, blah. So that's what we see happening in our society right now, is people are afraid of each other. They're afraid of this C-19. And so what they're doing is allowing allowing the flesh to be exploited, abused, penetrated, filled up, whatever it is with this these people that are going to the dance with Maxine Waters. She just wants to dance with you, and then she's going to take you out back, and her boys are going to beat you up because you think you're going to get something out of dancing with Maxine Waters. And man, she looks good. Let's go out. She's going to say, let's go out back. And then when you go out there, you think it's all good. It's time to get down to the real dance. Yeah, you are going to get down to the real dance, because that's where you didn't realize dancing with Maxine Waters was about your flesh. If you're all worried about your flesh and you're worried about, oh no, my flesh is going to die. Oh, I can't stand it. I have to stay here on this spinning wet ball rocket, and I want to keep celebrating my Christmases and my Thankstakings and my wife with Valentine Day and all this pagan nonsense that Esau Edom has pushed. You're falling for the snares of the flesh. And so this is where we're at right now. It's a test. Testing. Who's of the flesh? Who's of the spirit? Testing. So that's the story of Saul and his fear of, I feared the people and obeyed their voice. That's a fleshly answer. So, Romans, the spirit of life. So the other thing I wanted to make clear is the flesh in itself. I said it's poison. The flesh itself isn't the poison. I mean, beauty. It's not poison in itself. It's how you use the flesh and how much reverence you give the flesh that's the problem. So I'm just going to read through Romans. This will be it on flesh and carnality, because for now there's not really much more to say. If you understand that the Lord wants you to do certain things for Him, and if you bow to the voice of Esau Edom and the queen of heaven, and you drink this Babylon juice, and you follow these pagan rituals and pagan. This is just one. It's just one big fucking witchcraft. It's one big ritual to see. Testing. Who's of the spirit and who's of the flesh? Because I think what this punch is, it's a and a modifier. So it's a R punch. That's your helix. The helix that is the blueprint for your body. So what Esau Edom has figured out is he's figured out the map of this helix thing, and what I'm thinking is that punch is it's a marker. They're gonna see who's who and what's what. It's gonna affect your helix in a certain way, and that's that. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving any information. This is my own opinion of what's happening. It's coming to me slowly, because I've been meditating on it for a while, and we don't know exactly what this fucking mad scientist has up his sleeve, but it's definitely an issue. Okay, I'm at 20. Three-part message. The story of Saul, the story of what's going on right here, and why we shouldn't bow to the flesh. So afraid. I'm afraid. I don't want to go. I want to keep chasing that fucking coin slot. Oh my God, I love feeling up titties. Oh, the money, all that money I got. Oh, I love it. I have the biggest house, the best car. Fucking foolishness. Foolishness. The spirit of life, Romans 8. There is therefore now no condemnation to them that are in Yahushua Mahashiach, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in Yahushua Mahashiach has made me free from the law of sin and death. The Spirit of life in Yahushua has made me free from the law of sin and death. I'm not going to die. You die when you give in to the flesh. Verse 3 of 8, Romans. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh. You can't not eat pork all the time. You can't not prophesy with your a hat on all the time. You can't follow the laws perfectly. You're gonna sin. If you're in this flesh, you're gonna sin. That's why the law had to be abolished, and Hamashiach had to come, because he had to give up this human body. That's what he did. He gave up the human body for the spirit. That's why he got up on the fucking tree. He didn't have to get up on the tree. He got up there to show us that's the way to go. Let them destroy the body. It's the spirit that counts. That's the point of carnal, between the difference between carnal and spirit. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Yahweh sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemned sin in the flesh. Flesh has got to go. You can't go into the kingdom holding on to this flesh. That's what he means, sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh. That's how we got trapped in here too. If the Spirit's witnessing to your spirit, you know you're just like Yahushua. He's your brother. That's why we say he's our brother. Because he came down here and he got in the flesh just like us. And when we go back to him, we're going to go back and we're going to be just like him. Isn't that enough? I mean, either you believe it or you don't. If you don't believe it, then be destroyed. That's your choice. Verse 4 of Romans 8, and it reads, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. Like I was just saying, oh, I want that coin slot. I love kissing her beautiful lips. I love the sound of my money. I love the sound of my hot rod. I love the lust of the eyes, the lust of the, like I was reading in John, of this world, the pride of life. I've got so much more than them. I'm so much better looking than them. I'm whatever it is that makes you puffed up. For they are after the flesh that do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death. Again, Romans 8:6. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Tell them no. No, no, no. I will not stick my rod in that in that coin slot, in that V slot. I will not fall for that temptation. Because the carnal mind is enmity with Yahweh power, for it is not subject to the law of Yahweh power, neither indeed can be. That's the spiritual demon Satan coming in the physical form of Esau Edom, or that's these people that are pushing the flesh. They're making you concentrate on the flesh so that you will be carnally minded. That's all this is. Testing. Because the carnal mind is enmity with God. You're fighting Yahweh power if you're too worried about. That's why I grew up with punks, surfers, skaters, and other diabolical, despicable douchebags. And a lot of those people have these marks on their arms, their necks, their face, their head. That's one of those sins that my Lord told me never to do. Don't mark your flesh. And I have a lot of I have some marks, but they're from using my body, not abusing my body. I don't need to show off someone else's artwork on my skin. Doesn't that just sound stupid? Here, let me show off someone else's artwork on my skin. I'm a walking billboard for Jack, the tattoo dude. What? Yeah. And look, I'm advertising for this devil, this skull, this.
I would never take him to court for reforming.
There's my crazy buddy. He's the one that set me up with the fins. So I'm going to finish this off real quick because I think you get the idea. And so that Felix the cat that they're modifying, testing, who's who and what's what. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Yahweh power. But I'll just finish the chapter and then close it out because I'm probably at just about 30 minutes. But you who are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if so be that the Spirit of Yahweh power dwell in you. Now, if any man have not the Spirit of Hamashiach, he is none of his. You either are or you're not. And if you're not striving for the Spirit and giving up the V slot and those bouncing flesh beauties, breasts, or kissing the lips, or running after that car, the house, the fame, the fortune, you're in the wrong fascination, brother. Verse 10 of Romans 8. And if Hamashiach be in you, the body is dead because of sin. The body doesn't make... This body means shit to me because all it can do is cause me trouble. That's all it can do. Unless I'm straight up here and I have control over this and this and this, the whole body will run to evilness and wickedness. Evilness. I don't even know if that's a word, but evilness. Evilness. And if Hamashiach be in you, verse 10 of Romans 8, the body is dead because of sin, but the spirit is life because of righteousness. So, if you believe in Hamashiach and believe that he got up on that tree for you, and that it took the spirit to do that, and he gave up the flesh, then you can start to realize what a gift that was. And this is the last verse of, I'm going to read for Romans 8. Let me see what I got. I'm done. 29 something. Real quick, and then I'm done. All praise and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rekakodash, the 144,000 elect men, Akim, and the Akwat that are listening. Salutations, this is it. But if the spirit of him that raised up Yahushua from the dead dwell in you. This is what I was just saying. He that raised up Hamashiach from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his spirit that dwelleth in you. That's the fact that your body's going to continue if your spirit's strong. And then the last one, verse 12, because for the 12 tribes and for the 12 apostles. Therefore, my brothers, we are debtors not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if we live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if you, through the Spirit, do mortify the deeds of the body, you shall live. I hope this message was edifying. I hope you folks can understand the difference between living for the carnal and living for Yahushua Hamashiach. Till the next one, Shalom and Kwam Yasharallah. We're rising.